Okay, guys. So we have shown you this deal, and Yaden kind of tied it all together, and it really wasn't a very good deal. You may be thinking, why are they showing us a deal that doesn't work? That's no good. Well, because most deals are no good, right? Most sellers want way too much money. They're not in a good location. For whatever reason, they're overpriced. And so I don't want you to go into this thinking, hey, the first deal I underwrite is going to be a home run slam dunk. Like, most likely not. But every deal is a deal at some price or at some terms. Okay, so let's start working on this deal to figure out, well, what can we pay? How does this make sense to make a deal happen if this is in an area that we like? And for the record, with this deal, when we looked at it on Google Maps, it wasn't super hot, that it was right next to a tire store. It didn't look like a super great neighborhood. So I'm not saying that I would buy this deal or endorse this deal, but let's just say that we like it. It's in a good area. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is look at the rent metric, right? It's 1.1%, which is the average rent, $925 divided by the price per door. So $900 divided by 90 grand, basically 1%. So we know that this deal will not work at 1.1. We can't attract money. We can't make money. It's just taking on debt and risk for really no reason. So let's drop this price way down and see what happens. So let's just say $750,000. Will they accept that? Oh, 7.5 million. They'll definitely accept that. $750,000 and see what happens. So you've got your pro forma rents now at 925 and you're at 1.48. This is a very healthy metric. 1.25 to 1.5 is really, really good. You're all in 61%. If you're less than 75%, a lot of times you can refinance and hold it and return the investor capital. And let's see, we'll leave the expenses alone, this stuff that Yaden has already gone through, and we'll just say, okay, all things being equal, we're going to pull the price lever. And there's other levers we can pull, but let's just pull the price lever. The loan's the same. There's not going to be any owner financing because this is going to be a straight up cash deal. And this may be where you submit two offers, right? Where you submit one offer that is just a punch them in the face, all cash, no contingencies. And when I say all cash, I still mean a bank, but they're getting all the money at closing. They're not having to do any seller financing. And then you can work maybe from there. So looking at that, let's see, how does this look? On the executive summary, we got to raise $223,000 in cash. And on the exit strategy, boom, I mean, look at that, 56% return and 40% IRR. So average annual return, this would be the total return divided by 3 years. Internal rate of return takes into factor the time factor of money, where you're getting most of that money on year 3 when you sell it. But the investors are throwing down 223 grand. They're getting their money back, and then they're splitting 464,000. So they're getting 325K, which is more than double their money in 3 years. So are they going to be interested in investing in this deal? You better believe it. Absolutely. This looks phenomenal. Let's look at the cash flow. Month 1, we're still losing a little bit of money, but eventually we break even, within 5 months, then we're making money. The preferred return is 7%. And so that is how much? $1,300 a month. So you see how the preferred return goes up, but then we kind of turn the corner. Now the preferred return amount due is going down because we're paying it out, right? Whereas before we couldn't. And boom, by the end of 2 years, we're back to zero. So this may be something where you tell the investors, hey, even on this good of a deal, we're not going to pay the preferred return out for the first year or the first 2 years. It's just going to accrue, or you pay what you can, but make sure you set that expectation correctly. And yeah, so this looks like it could work. I mean, within, we're cash flowing, we're making money, we're selling it for a huge profit in 3 years, and we're looking good. But do we have to give away that much of the deal to close this deal? So when you find a deal, if I found a deal this good and I put it under contract for 750,000, I probably don't have to give away 70% of the income or equity. So let's get rid of the preferred return. Let's just say there's no preferred return and we're going to split the deal 50-50. I get 50%, investors get 50%. I'll do the work, you bring the money, whatever cash flow there is, we're going to split, whatever profits there are, we're going to split. And let's see how it looks for them, right? This stuff doesn't change, right? I mean, the metrics here are the same, expenses are the same, debt's the same. Let's go to the executive summary. The raise is the same. Exit strategy. Okay, so we've dropped their IRR down to 30%, which is, still really good. So in the multifamily world, 15% or greater is pretty solid. So I could definitely attract money with this, even just splitting it 50-50. Now let's look at the cash flow. So the first month we're losing a little bit of money, but we have some escrows to pay for that. But now, hey, maybe we're making distributions, right? I'm making $700 a month. The investor's getting $700 a month. Now they're getting $800 a month, $900 a month, $1,000 a month. At stabilization, we're both getting $1,000 a month, and for the next 3 years. And then what happens when we sell it, right? So we sell it, we net 464. We sell it for 1.28. We've got our sales costs. We've got to pay off our loan. This is what's left, 687. We pay back the investors their 223, and then we split the profit. So you get 232 grand, they get 232 grand, everybody's happy, and you do your next deal. Or, you could refinance that, right? So if we change this to refinance and then sell in year 5, right? So now we're looking at this box. So in year 3, we're going to get a valuation of 2.84, and we're going to get a refinance loan of 963. So 963, that's more than we're paying for it. And there's some cost associated with that. We got to pay off our old loan, and we can pay back our member capital, right? We're going to get 400 grand. We pay back member capital, and we still have 183,000 left. So we can leave that in the bank as reserves for the project, or we can distribute some of that. Maybe we distribute 80,000. We leave 100K in the bank. Maybe we distribute all of it, depending on how risky you want to get. But now you guys have a property where you own it with no investor money in it, and it's still, let's see how the cash flow looks after we refinance it. Well, the calculator doesn't go out that far, but if I go down to stabilized, okay, so after we refinance in year 3, our DSCR drops down. So we may not be able to get that big of a loan, okay? Because if it's below 1.25, the bank's not going to do that. So let's go back to our our exit strategy. And we need to change this LTV, but we don't want to change that number, right? Because that's not a blue number. So let's go back to inputs. Let's say our refinance loan is 65%. Okay. So 65. And let's go back to our exit strategy. Now we only are pulling out 60,000 above paying everybody back. That's still pretty good. Let's go back to inputs. Let's drop that down to 60%. 60% loan to value. And go back to our exit strategy. Now we're paying back 98%. So we're pretty much paying everybody off that's got money in the bank. And let's see what our stabilized P&L. There we go. See, now our DSCR after we refinance is 1.3, which means it's a safe deal to pay our loan and continue to hold it and continue to cash flow it. And maybe we sell it in year 10 or year 5 or whatever you want to do. But, the name of the game really is to hold properties. You want to hold properties if you can. Sometimes you got to flip them and sell them to make cash flow. But okay, so we've split the deal 50-50 and it looks good that way. We're refinancing it. So I'm going to go back to change it back to the way it was. All right, so let me go back to our exit strategy. We're not doing a refinance and we're selling it in year 3. Okay. And now this refinance loan metric doesn't really matter. The seller says, well, forget that. Like, I'm not selling my property for $750,000. Like, you can go to hell. And so he very well may say that. He said, well, hey, I can pay a little bit more if you get creative. Still can't pay 1.1, but let's see what 900,000 looks like. All right, so 900,000 rent metrics still pretty good. We're still all in for 73%. This is starting to look decent. If we split the deal 50-50 with no pref, let's see how it looks for the investors, right? Exit strategy, 18%, so they're still doing pretty good. You know what? You might even be able to pay 900 grand straight up with no creative financing. You have to raise a little bit more, but the deal still works. And now you're really only a little over 20% off of his full price ask. So maybe you can go to 900,000. All right, let's try 950,000. Okay, so our metric is dropping a little low there. We're all in for 77%. Executive summary. We've got a raise 282. Our exit strategy. Now the investors are only making 15% at 50-50. I might have to give away more equity. Let's change our inputs here to 70%, 70-30 with no preferred return. Going back, now they're making 20%, right? That's not bad. So this could be a deal that you do. You grab 30% of the equity. You don't have a preferred return choking you, and they make decent money. You make decent money. There's not a whole lot of room for error, right? If your math is wrong, right? Your expenses are wrong. You can't get your pro forma rents. There's a lot of things at play there, but it still could be a solid deal. Let's say $1 million. Now I'm in for 82%. This would be my pretty much top end, and this is where I'm going to have to get creative. This is where, if the seller wants $1 million, I'm going to have to ask him or her for owner financing. So I'm not going to ask for my senior financing. I'm going to ask for secondary financing. So I need to raise 297. So what I'm going to say to him is, hey, will you loan me 300 grand? If I give you $1 million, which is almost your full price, it's only 100K less. Will you loan me back 300 grand? Loan it to me for 5 years at 5%, interest only. And in 5 years, I'm going to sell the property or I'm going to refinance it. I'm going to pay you off. Right now, let's go back to our equity split. Okay. The asset management fee, probably 0, because now you don't need any partners, right? Your member equity is 0. Your manager equity is 100. The GP team owns 100% of this deal. Okay. So 100% of this deal is what? Let's see. So exit strategy, right? These numbers aren't working anymore because there's no investors involved. But here, I can make $200,000 in 3 years if I can get him to do that, even paying $1 million, which is only 10% less than what he wants, if he's willing to do that. Now, if he says, no, $1 million is my bottom line and I'm not doing any seller financing, then let's go back to, let's change this member equity back to 70%, 2%. Now I'm back to, I'm only going to make 63K. Investors are going to make 150K. So they're going to make 15% IRR if everything goes swimmingly well and we sell it in 3 years. I can't refinance it. I really don't have any options other than to sell it to make this make sense. And that's really, really tight. So I'm just probably not going to pay $1 million straight up. And that's definitely my top. My top would be $1 million with the seller carryback. Now, if he says, well, I'll only loan you 200 grand and you put up 100, well, let's see what that looks like. Okay. Going back to amount is 200,000. And this is where you can do infinite amounts of tweaks and changes to this stuff. So if I'm going to do 200,000, I'm going to drop the member equity to 50-50 because I only have to raise 200 grand now. Let's look at our executive summary. Well, I only have to raise 100 grand. So I only have to raise 100 grand, and let's see what kind of returns I can get for that investor. 28%. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty solid return. I can make 100 grand. Investors can make 100 grand, and I can pay the seller off. So I'm liking that. I'm liking that proposition. This is how powerful some of that seller carry can be, because it's essentially like getting a share or 2 or 3 raise for your deal at 5% interest only, right? With no equity. So it's a pretty powerful strategy. So this is where I don't want you to underwrite a deal at the full ask price and then be discouraged when it doesn't look good or it doesn't work, right? There are ways to make things work. And this is what we do every week, where we help people figure out what is the optimal way to structure this. What is the best way so that you're not working for free, so that you're not getting yourself into something that's going to be a heartache and never really cash flow, never really make money, and just become a big mountain of debt that you took on for no reason. And so on Tuesdays, we go through live deals that people have submitted, and we double check their math. We go through the analyzer with them. On Tuesday afternoons, we pull raw deals off the internet, LoopNet, just like this, and we build them with you so that you fully understand how to use this tool. And then on Mondays, we have an hour-long Q&A call just on like deal structure, anything you want to talk about that you're struggling with, raising capital, attracting investors. But the cool thing about this is, if you found something like this, where you negotiated the seller carryback, like presenting this to the deal room, needing 100 grand for a 50% equity slice in this deal, not going to be too hard, right? That's where people are waiting. That's where the network is waiting to find deals like this, to invest in deals like this. And there's also people that have deals like this that are looking for money. They're looking for someone who maybe you don't have the 100 grand, but you can connect them with someone that has 100 grand, and they get 40%, the 100 grand, and you get 10%. You get 10 or 15% just for making that connection. And now you're in a deal and you're making progress. And so that's the power of the network and the team. So guys, that's what I've got for how do we make this deal work? What levers can we pull to make something that maybe didn't look so good on the beginning turn into something that could be possibly a deal?